have with us now Pastor Hargrove of Zoe Outreach Ministry, and we're just going to chat about the school system here. You have kids in the school system?
Actually, I don't now.
Mm-hmm.
I did. My baby girl, Kiara, she's in ninth grade now, and her and my middle girl, they're at St. Cat's now.
Mm-hmm.
They were at Fine Arts up to sixth grade, and then Kiara went on to Jerstead, and then they both came back together in high school at St. Cat's. So now I have one in ninth grade at St. Cat's and one that's a junior at St. Cat's.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons why, for me, became more of even a safety issue for my daughters as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted them to be in an environment that will stimulate learning more so than having to just be concerned about just safety issues. That's just being real.
One of the great debates at this particular time in Racine is to debate whether or not minorities should want their kids to go to neighborhood schools, or whether we should continue the 20 to 30-year-old policy of volunteer busing.
Okay.
How do you stand on the issue?
Well, you know that I was a part of the committee that they asked us about maybe 2 years ago to come in and to do some research on the whole concept of the 30-year-old policy, segregation policy, and so we actually did that. And let me say this real quick: they didn't take any of our recommendations that we had from the committee. However, I believe that, how would I put it? Now, of course, this is all unqualified. This is Pastor Hargrove's opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's my opinion. I believe that segregation, that segregated schools or neighborhood schools won't work only because I don't believe that there will be an equal distribution of funds that will have to go into the quote-unquote neighborhood schools in the inner city versus on the outskirts.
Do you feel that you have an achievement gap? And we can agree to that. It's an achievement gap between African Americans to a great degree and non-minorities.
Yeah.
Do you feel that because that gap have not narrowed, and with the application of busing, we haven't seen any closure in that gap? I mean, why would you want to continue something that seemingly is not working?
Well, again, for me, it goes on trust issues. I believe that as long as that white child is sitting next to that black child, that they're going to have to make sure that they have equal funding for their black child. I just don't believe that, and history will bear it out in this country. History will bear it out. Whenever we had to, whenever, I've not seen yet anyone under their just good graces help the African American cause. The only time that the African American cause was helped was when the government or whoever was helping us knew that they had a greater benefit, to gain from it. So I mean, again, just my own opinion, and keep it real, I don't believe that. I believe that the funds will somehow mysteriously begin to not be there for the inner city schools more so than for those that will be on the outskirts of town. I don't believe that.
One of the things that you participated in recently, you're part of a group called the Covenant Commission, and you invited Tony Evans, Reverend Tony Evans from Texas. Can you elaborate on what was the reasoning for that?
The reason for that is because the program is called the Doctor School Initiative. It's a nationwide program that Dr. Evans actually does. And when I went down to Dallas, I was very impressed by what he was doing with the schools and how the school districts had called him in, to see if he could help, with the tutoring, mentoring aspect, of the students. And even to the point of, a lot of his men just walk the hall sometimes, just kind of, being a presence in the school. I believe it'll help us on a few levels. One, it'll help us with the children at the very direct level of having people available for mentoring and tutoring. tutoring first. Having even men available, just to be present in the school where they may need some help on the school ground, on the school playground during recess, lunch hour, things like that that could kind of help keep a little peace in the lunchrooms, on the playground. The other part of that is not just the tutoring and not just the present, but also the mentoring, being able to have men of God not come in and push their religion on the children, but just men of God who are men of integrity, to be able to come in and then to help, be a mentor in the life, of those children. Now, another thing that we will look at doing is trying to provide, because I believe that as a church, that we should be able to help provide social services to these families. I believe that. And I believe that that's a way of being able to also, look at the needs of the family as a whole and see how else we can help them. But so it's a broad program, but it began really with that student, with that child who needs help, in school.
One of the things that you just mentioned was that having resources available for the family, the parents. Wouldn't you believe, or wouldn't you maybe suggest that could be better done in a neighborhood school setting rather than in a setting where those family members, those students are bussed out of the community?
Well, it all depends. Again, it depends on, number one, where the resources are coming from. Okay. Government resources, we're not talking about government resources, we're talking about more or less, just, church resources, individual resources, different dollars that could come, as a way to help, to impact the family. I don't think it can be done if the schools are still segregated. I just, again, that's just my thinking, because I don't trust people real easy, and I don't trust, when I see there's a pattern, then I have to look at the pattern that I see throughout history. And so the resources that we can provide, of course, will be limited as a church. We can provide people resources, we can provide, food resources, we can provide, ways to point people where they need to go. However, getting back to this is easily happen here as well.
But one of the things that I think your group that studied that whole desegregation plan, one of the things that you found out was that Racine had voluntarily entered into the integration of the school system. Yeah. Do that kind of lend one to think that Racine understand that the schools need to be properly integrated in order for it to work?
At that time, yeah, 30 years ago. Do they understand it now? I don't think they understand it now. I think that what happens is, let me see if I can make sure I pose this right. It's not a fact that, a white boy sitting next to a black boy, the black boy is going to learn better because of the white boy. To me, that's not a fact. Many instances, when schools were segregated back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, some of our best minds, our best intellectuals came through segregated black schools. Okay, but the thing was, the teachers had a standard. The teachers knew how to handle the children. The teachers gave them expectations. So it's not black sitting against white that's going to make them better. No, I don't believe that. What happened, though, you had teachers, number one, who cared about the students. Teachers who had a standard for the students. Okay, you had teachers who actually knew that, because they stayed in the same community with those students. They knew that if they educated those students properly, that they would have a better educated community. You understand? And so at that point, then yes, segregated schools were great because you had teachers who really cared about the students. Okay, it wasn't a fact of black-white thing. It wasn't that. As a matter of fact, if I can take it a step further, even with Dr. King, everybody want to bring Dr. King into the picture. They said, well, he was for integration. No, Dr. King was for what was right, justice. Okay, his theology was based on the fact that of reconciliation, not integration. Secular society called it integration. We call it reconciliation in the church. And so, but Dr. King knew that. But he also knew that if that black child was next to that white child, that black child would not have the resources that that white child had to be able to make it. And that's what I believe that came from the whole concept of integration. It wasn't the fact that this white child was brighter and more intelligent than the white child. They just had more resources available to them.
What would you like in closing to see the school system of Racine look like?
I would like to see the school system of Racine look. I believe that they can still have the school. They don't have to have neighborhood schools in order for the school system to prosper and do what it needs to do. What they need to do is they need to have, of course, better prepared teachers, teachers who will have a standard, better paid teachers, and they need to have a better school board that's going to really be concerned about the community as a whole and not just the white community.
Okay. We thank you.